2020 was a record year at Nomad Capitalist, seeing Americans calling us not only looking for backup plans in terms of citizenships and banks worldwide to protect themselves in the event things got worse, but we had a lot of folks from the U.S. saying, I want to get out of here before things get worse. Where can I move? How do I move? And the question is always, well, what are the easiest places to move to? What are the best places to move to? And while there is no one perfect place, I'm going to share with you 4 countries that I believe are pretty easy for most Americans to move to. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and here at Nomad Capitalist, our team of 30 people, our network of global experts, help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs legally go where they're treated best, whether it's a Plan B or a Plan A. More at nomadcapitalist.com. And today I'm going to talk to a wide swath of Americans who are asking, where are the easiest places for me to move to? And I set up a couple criteria that I wanted to use for today's presentation. Number 1, the countries have to be relatively easy to immigrate to from a legal standpoint. As much as Americans often talk about moving to Canada if their guy doesn't win the election, it's not that easy to move to Canada. Canada doesn't just take anyone who wants to come in with $7 to their name. So the place had to be relatively easy for a lot of people to be able to move to. I looked at places that had a relatively similar cultural connection or some kind of cultural affinity. I've been doing this for many years, and so if you told me, go and spend a bunch of time in Cambodia, I'm perfectly comfortable doing that. But I understand a lot of Americans, especially those who have been calling us this year, they may have traveled overseas. Many of those destinations were very touristic, and so they're looking for something that feels somewhat like the United States, that's not total culture shock. And I also wanted these places to be affordable, and so these 4 places, I believe, could apply to so many different Americans. It does not mean that if you are from the United States, it is the best place for you, because I know many of you have been pretty adventurous at traveling, and you might want to move further afield. But here are 4 places that I think stand out for at least getting started. The first is Mexico, and I started all the way back before Donald Trump got elected the first time, saying, why is it that people on the left always threaten to move to Canada when they could move to Mexico? Easier to immigrate to, cheaper to live, better weather, better food. So many great things about Mexico, and yet people look down on Mexico. Mexico, from a global perspective, is a relatively wealthy country. There are plenty of beautiful parts of the country. There are plenty of wealthy. We've had actually a lot of Mexicans calling us as well, looking to diversify, looking for their Plan B. It's just good thinking all around. But there are plenty of very successful people there who live in beautiful neighborhoods, they live in beautiful homes, they drive nice cars, and you can go and do that too. If you prove that you have a pretty basic amount of income, you can get residence in Mexico, you can go and spend time there. If you're willing to actually live there, eventually you can get Mexican citizenship. And they've got this kind of weird, unique form of taxation that's relatively flexible for people just getting settled in the first year or two. And so it's next door, it's close to home. As someone who no longer spends any time in the United States, I go to Mexico, I feel some of the greatest comforts. If you want a hot dog, or if you want some of those Americanized foods, or some of those Americanized experiences. I love Mexican culture and food, but they also have some of those more Americanized things, more so than almost anywhere else I go in the world. And so that's a very easy place to go to, and most people can afford to get in there. Another country in Latin America that's pretty easy for most Westerners, including U.S. citizens, is Panama. They have a friendly nations visa program. You put $5,000 in the bank, you put a couple extra grand per dependent if you have a spouse, if you have children, and you have one economic tie to the country. That could be as simple as setting up a corporation. Now, there are some reporting requirements with the U.S. government for that corporation, but you don't really need to do much with it. You don't need to employ people. You don't need to meet the requirements that a lot of other countries would make you do in terms of running a business. You could also buy a home. You could make some kind of investment in forestry. Any kind of economic connection in addition to your bank account gets you into Panama. And from there, you don't have to stay in Panama to keep the residents active, but you can live there. And there are parts of Panama where English is somewhat widely spoken. The country uses the US dollar, so you're not going to have currency shock or currency fluctuation, particularly as many experts expect the US dollar to decline in 2021. You'll see, while it's not the most affordable place, there are a lot of the comforts that Americans like, particularly in Panama City, some of the beach communities. Not a bad place to go. Non-stop flights back to the U.S. Certainly very Americanized because of its history, more so than some of the other countries in Central America, and so not a bad choice for many Americans to go to. Even though there are parts of Mexico and Panama where you can get by with English, or you can at least learn enough Spanish to function in affluent communities, if you're looking for an English-speaking country, one that has been chosen particularly by retirees is Belize. You're next to Mexico. You do have nonstop flights in normal times from various cities in the U.S. down to Belize, and you've got really a lot of nice diving, nice beaches. You're probably not going to live in one of the cities. You're probably going to live out on one of the keys or somewhere along the water. But particularly if you are retired, residence is relatively easy. You bring about $24,000 a year into the banks there. You show that you have some money, and you can move all your household goods in duty-free. They've got a couple different programs, but I would generally say for folks 45 and up, Belize is an option worth considering because they do speak English. That is their language. And they've got a lot of options for people who are looking for a bit more laid-back lifestyle. Obviously, much smaller country than even a Panama, or certainly than a Mexico, but not a bad place to live if you're just looking to escape and have a totally different life experience. A lot of Americans have chosen to go down there. Another place that we've seen a lot of Americans looking at is Portugal. And so Portugal has a golden visa program. They have other residence programs for folks who are looking to actually invest in an apartment to live in and spend time there. So you've got your choice. Do you want to invest less money and actually live in Portugal and maintain all the trappings of a home? Or do you want to invest and have the flexibility to live there or not? There are different ways that you can move to Portugal, but it's becoming a very popular nomad destination, expat destination, not only with younger people and digital nomads, but also with people who are retirees. And we have a lot of folks who are asking me about Portugal, and it's always been a beautiful place. I've been going there for a dozen years, and it's always been a great place. But now it's becoming more international, more of the things that you're used to. More English is spoken. Again, Portuguese, not that difficult to learn if you spend time there. So definitely a place that I think, because it is in Europe, it's more affordable. There are different immigration options. A lot of Americans can easily fit in there, and being so far Western Europe, not so difficult to get back and forth to the U.S. Those are 4 countries that I think are relatively, culturally available, affordable enough to live in, immigration options available to Americans. Those are 4 places to start. Now, again, you could look at Asia. You could look at places further afield in Europe. You could look at Eastern Europe. You could look further, South and South America. And I've talked about countries from Malaysia to Colombia to Georgia. Those could all work. We also have talked about countries like Switzerland, places like Jersey, the Cayman Islands, and we have high-level clients who want to live in those places. So there is no one perfect place for anybody. I'm sure most Americans could handle living in the Cayman Islands. Just happens the investment option to live there is generally a bit more intense or a bit more expensive. But there are lots of places where you can go. Those are 4 that the average American can start with. If there's one you think I've missed, leave a comment below. Where do you think someone looking to leave the United States should consider? How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.